All right, so this initialize method is going to get run every time you call new on the class.
That confused me so much for a little while.
Because you want it to be called like new. I mean, wouldn't that be helpful? Because
Yes.
that would be helpful.
It took me a while to connect new and initialize, or the fact that new just worked without there being anything else there.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, it's initialized, and so I can prove to you that it's called because, well, like right now it's empty. So if I go over here and we go back here and I do dog.new, there's no change, right? But actually, initialize is being called. There's just nothing in there. So let me exit out, and now I'll put something in here. You know, just some Ruby code. You know what puts does? It just, or puts.
Yeah, it basically, sort of like prints, but not quite.
Just print something out. So now if I go in here and I type dog.new, you'll see it's, you know, every time we create a dog, it is running whatever's inside initialize. Okay, so let's say that when we create a dog, we want to assign its name at that time. So maybe for starters, every dog will just have the same name. So we can say something like this, you know, name equals, of course, Spot, and watch this. Like, so now when I do dog.new, you actually can see that there's this extra thing there. See that?
Oh yeah.
And that's an instance variable, and an instance variable has certain characteristics that are important to note, but we'll get to that in just a second. So, like, here's what's interesting. Like, I could say, my dog equals dog.new. So now I got my dog, right? And you'd think you'd be able to get to his name like that. But look what happens.
Yeah.
Ruby says, we don't know what there's no name method. So even though this dog has an instance variable name, what Ruby is saying is like, look, that's information inside this dog, but you don't have a right to it from outside the dog unless you explicitly say so. So that's what these things are for. You ever seen like...
Yes. Okay. So I sort of understood all this, but as you're explaining it, it's making so much more sense.
Okay. Yeah, so what Ruby does is like they just assume like you don't want to expose your internals to the world unless you say that you do. So yeah, so I can say attribute, I think it's access. How about add a reader? You ever seen that?
Yeah, let me...
Oh, what am I doing? Not dog.
It's...
Name. I can slow down. I know I do.
No, you're fine.
So when you put this at the top of your class, what you're basically saying is like, you know, everything here can be read from outside. So in your initialize, you're setting this variable, and then by putting name in this list of attribute readers, you're saying people can see this. So let's try it. So I can say my dog equals dog.new, and now if I say my dog.name,
yay!
I get it. But what if I want to do this? What if I want to change my dog's name? My dog.name equals no Fluffy, and I'll get the same error we got before. It says we don't know what that is. And anyway, so how do we solve that? Well, you can do this. You can say attribute writer. And now you can do both. I can go in there and, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put some code here at the bottom that I hope this works. Then I won't have to do that every time. Did that work? My dog. It did. Okay, so I can say my dog dot name equals Bill, and it changed it, right?
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's what add a reader and add a writer will do for you. Now, you seldom actually see these because there's this other one called attribute accessor.
Does that just do both?
It does both. So
Okay.
that's what that is. Accessor means I want to be able to read this and write it.
Okay, because we've used that. And I hadn't seen reader or writer yet, but that makes more sense.
Okay. So what's interesting is that, well, I don't know if it's worth getting into this, but like let's delete that. So we go back here and we create our dog, and I want to know my dog's name, and it says undefined method. Okay. Well, another way to do this is this way. Now, if you can create a method in your dog, and it could be like bark. Let's just call it bark, okay? So your dog has a bark method, and it can be woof. So let's go back here and create that dog again. And so if we do my dog dot bark, what do you think is going to happen? Woof. It runs the method, and we can actually create any kind of methods in here that will be executed. But what if we want the dog to bark his name? Then, we might do.
Just put the.
Like this?
Yeah.
All right. So let's see if that works. My dog dot bark. Spot. Right? Or you could say, woof, my name is. Something like that. Whatever. See if that works. My dog dot bark. Yep. Okay. So here's the thing. The point I'm trying to make is the difference between an instance variable and another variable. So what if you said what if you assigned another variable here called number of legs or something, and so we're assuming these dogs are healthy and all have 4 legs. So this is not an instance variable. It's just a variable. So do you know the difference?
I'm having trouble verbalizing the difference.
Okay. Well, I programmed in Ruby for a long time without ever knowing the difference, so it won't kill you not to know. But once I kind of got cleared up, I just thought, oh my gosh, basically an instance variable is when you set that, it's going to be available everywhere in the whole class, like from here to here. So I can create. That's why in bark I can say, woof, my name is name, and this variable is available. It's visible to bark because it's an instance variable, instance wide. Like everybody inside the instance knows about name. But if you don't preface it with the @ symbol, it's just going to be scoped locally to just the method where you find it. So like, if I say, for example, if I say, let's see here, I have these legs. I don't know how to phrase this. And I say, I try to print this out, and it's going to break. It's going to say something like, actually, it may still work. Let's see, my dog dot bark. Yeah, no, it broke. Because we're saying num legs, and it's like the bark method is saying, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because it can't access.
Right, because this one here, it's not an instance variable. It's only visible inside this method, and so when I try to use it down here, bark is like, that's not anything. We don't know anything about that. So what is a very common Ruby idiom is when you create an item, when you create an instance, that at the moment of creation, when you instantiate it, that you would give it these values. You would give it a name right then. So how would we, let's delete this. how would we, upon creation, give a dog a name?
Can you require an argument? Argument? Is that the word I want to use?
Yeah, you can. Argument is fine. And
Okay.
like that.
Yeah, and then wouldn't it? We have to make the instance variable equal. Yeah.
Just like that. That's exactly right. And so now I can do this. You know, I can say, well, okay, so now check this out. Now when we try to run, whoops, our little code thing here, it's going to break. And look at this error. Because you can, sometimes like your eyes just glaze over when you see this stuff. It's just like, oh gosh. But let's take a look at it, because it is actually telling you exactly what you need to know. So just look at the line at the very top, not the line right under.
It's looking for an argument, and we gave it none.
Right. It says wrong number of arguments. You gave me 0, and I expected 1. And then it even tells you what method it's talking about in initialize. So then it's like, oh. So then it's like, well, where was I calling initialize? And it's like, oh, I was calling it here implicitly. So I need to give it, you know, I need to give this dog an unfortunate name here. And we can name, you know, you can have all kinds of names. Spot again. And we can, there, now we have a bunch of stuff. So let's run the code again. Ta-da. And now we have my dog, oops, my dog, he's got a name. My dog 2's got a name. My dog 3's got a name. Great.
Cool.
So this is kind of a Ruby idiom, is you create your class, you have your initialize method, and in your initialize method, you know, you might be passed a number of items about the dog, and you know, that the dog has characteristics, right? So this old yeller lived near a minefield or something, and these other ones are healthy. Yeah, right? So then we, let's see, run it again, and all our dogs are still fine, right? So this is,
okay.
so when you what you see in Ruby or in Rails are, there's a lot of magic happening behind the scenes. So like in Rails, you might have dogs in your system. You know, maybe it's a kennel application or something, and so you might create a dog model, and it would look kind of like this, except it would look like this. Have you ever seen this? It's
yes.
Something like that. I'm probably getting it wrong, but it's something like that. And then you wouldn't see this initialize method. And so a lot of your Rails classes, they actually are just like 2 lines, you know, in the very beginning. And so it's like, man, how is so much happening in there?
Yeah.
But what's really happening is this, is when you, here, let me open up a window and we'll go back and look at your thing real quick. Handstand. So let's go look at these models. So here's the user model. Oh, so you're using device. Okay, let me find one that's a little simpler. Photo. Place. Yeah. Anyway, so these are very typical. Oh, it's application record now. Yeah, because it's Rails 5. Anyway, these are very typical models. You know, a lot of the work you do in Ruby, you know, you'll be like, I have, you know, has one owner, has many tricks or whatever, and so those might refer to other models in the system. Okay, but what's really happening is in Rails, and I'm just addressing like 95% of the time, these models are backed by a database, right? Mm-hmm. Well, like your dog class corresponds to a table in your database called what? It's called dogs.
Dog.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, so if I go into your, here I am in your Rails app. What kind of database were you using? I wonder. I don't know.
It's We're using
Postgres.
Postgres. Yeah.
Okay, so, and let me just, I'm trying to see if this will work if I just run the migration. Let's see. I'm going to create these tables on my computer. No, it did not work. What's the problem here? Oh, I'm missing your Amazon keys. Okay, well, that's too much of a mess.
Yeah.
But like if I just create something, you know, my Kindle app or something, let that cook in the background. But anyway, like with your Rails classes, there's every like let's say that when you made your DAW, well, let's just do it. Okay, is it almost done here? I'm just trying not to go into the woods. I'm trying to think, is this really what you need to know? Well, let's go back to the vanilla class of a dog. So like, here we are again. And so you have this kind of initialize method, and then you might have, you know, other methods like this, okay? But occasionally you'll come across something that looks like this. Self dot, you know, something. So what is the difference between this method and this one above it? And again, this is a thing that I went a long way without knowing, so it's not going to kill you not to know it. But
no, because I've used this. I just can't remember where and in what.
Okay. Well, these methods here, if it's just a plain old def and a name, method name, those are called instance methods. And basically, you can run by, or, yeah, this is not the best way to describe it, but an instance can run it. So like a dog that you create can bark, right?
Yeah.
But this is called a class method, and you would run it like this in your code. You would say dog dot whatever, instead of dog dot new dot bark. Or you could say something like this. See, like your bark method is an instance method. Mm-hmm. It can only be run by an instance of a dog. But a class method can only be run by the class. It's like it's not related to a dog. It's related to the concept of a dog. It's general.
Okay.
So that's why in Rails you have things like this, like when you do dog.where. Have you ever seen stuff like this? Like your queries or dog. I don't know if you've dog.all.
I'm trying to think if I've done.
Well, that's okay. Oops.
Yeah. No. So the deck of cards challenge.
Well, let me look in your places controller. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here I am in your places controller, and you have a model called place, right? And here it is. But in your place controller, you're saying place dot paginate, or look at this, place dot find. Here's another one.
Yeah.
Place dot new. Those are all class methods. In other words, it's not related to an existing place, an instance somewhere. It's related to the concept of place. It's like, I want a generic new place, you know, or I want all the places to paginate, or I want to find a specific place. Oh man, I feel like I'm just maybe going too far, but
no, this is good.
Anyway, so you come across stuff like this. Maybe we don't have to worry about class methods right now. But in some of your coding challenges, you know, there's challenges like eventually you're going to build this big app that plays chess.
Right.
And so the people who really crush that thing, what they do is they build a bunch of little classes to help out with all the nitty gritty. And the people who get crushed by that project they're the ones, you know, and they'll have a method like move piece or something, and then it'll just have 200 lines of code, and they do their best to organize it, and they comment it. They're trying their hardest to make it clear, but it's just too much. And the smart ones, they're building classes like this. There'll be a class, and it's like they'll name their class like evaluates possible moves or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Finds possible moves, and then more like that. Or it'll be like anyway, and then they'll just have a tiny bit of logic inside each class, and so their project ends up having 20, 30, 40, 50 little classes, but it's so easy to kind of go into each class and figure out what it's supposed to do because it's focused. It has a single responsibility.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, I think that's enough about this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. If you saw some of the stuff here, let me show you a project I was working on yesterday, and I'll show you what I mean. So this is a real. Oops. Let's see, where is this? Well, I don't think I can show you if we're recording this. I don't want someone to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here, let me just. Well, it's all right. Anyways, sorry, Allie. I kind of just got all hyper there talking about stuff, and I don't know if that was really what you wanted to learn about.
No, actually, that helped because classes was one of the things that was just sort of my brain was having trouble wrapping itself around it. So
in Rails, you have this photo class, and what Rails does is it creates all these little instance methods in the background. So here's that thing I made. Where is it? The kennel thing. So I can do, let's see, regdb create. Will that work? Come on. Oh, great. Okay. So if I want to make a model here, see, I could say Rails generate model. Have you done this, right, in some of these projects?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I could say I want a dog model, and I want it to have a name, and I want it to have a number of legs, and I want it to have an owner, and we'll just put the owner's name there, and I want it to have, does it love cats or whatever. Okay, and so and so this is what Rails does. It's we do that, and Rails creates this dog model. Do you see it there?
Yes.
So let's go take a look at it, and it's just the simplest thing. Look, it's 2 lines long. There's nothing there. But if you look at the migration that Rails makes, there's this code here to actually create a dogs table in the database. So that's what's going to be behind this model. So I go, okay, let's run my migration, and Rails is going to go out and create that table. So now, even though inside Rails, this model is just 2 lines, if I open up a Rails console, which you may know nothing about that, but that basically lets us get kind of inside this project. And now if I do dog.new, check it out. It's kind of like before, except there's all this other stuff there. And you can see that Rails has done this thing where it's mapping your dog to the database. It's like, okay, the database has all these columns, and so so I can say let's do it. I can say my dog equals dog.new. My dog's name is Phil, and now I can do my dog.save. And look, it actually created a record in the database.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if I say, show me everything in the database, there's 1 dog in there named Phil. But that's what's happening when you're creating these models and all these projects. in the old days of coding, back before things got so nice and friendly, you just had to manage all these interactions between the, your code and the database, and write all these SQL statements to insert and pull stuff out. And Rails will still let you do that if you want to, but
why would you want to?
Why would you want to? It's so nice, that it's so nice that in your code you can do things like this. I can say dog.find, or look, I can say dog, show me all the dogs where the name is Phil. And it's like, there's one, show me all the dogs where the name is Old Yeller. And it's like, there's none. Rails, it's just very easy to interact with your data through Rails. And that's what's happening with these little tiny models. They let you interact with your data that way. They let you set up, relationships or whatever. Has one probably. I love, it's funny, I just love Rails because I did so much web development before Rails. And
yeah, I sort of missed all the in between. Like, I didn't do this or do anything with this for years. Yeah. So,
well, like, I used to work a lot with this language called PHP, which is still everywhere. And then in 2000, it's a long time ago, 2006, I kept reading these articles and hearing about, some people would say like Ruby on Rails was a 10x productivity boost, and I was like, come on, that's just not possible. But the people who were saying it were really respected people, so I thought, all right, I'll check it out. And they were right. I was just overnight, I just went from being very frustrated most of the time to just really enjoying the work.
Yeah, I've been surrounded by programmers most of my life, so at least the terminology is not as hard, I think. Because even if I didn't understand them, I've heard the words before. So sometimes it's more like, oh, hey, now I know what that means. Yeah.
Okay. So I think you have, like, in your curriculum, you have a number of coding challenges. Mm-hmm. One of them is image blur. I don't know what the first one is. Is it image?
The first image blur one, which I've done.
Oh, great.
Unfortunately, I don't have it up on Get Anywhere, though. That occurred to me earlier today.
Yeah, so...
And I got...
Image blur one is really just printing out the thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically you make a class, initialize it, assign it an instance variable, and spit it out, mostly.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe for next time, one of the most helpful things, it doesn't sound like you're going to have much trouble with the Ruby on Rails projects that you're going to go through, Nomster and Flickster and whatever the other ones are. Mm-hmm. I don't want to set you up for failure by saying that, but I don't think you're going to have too much trouble based on just what I'm hearing from you now. So, but where you might be challenged is in these coding challenges, these little image blur, probably not too bad, but eventually they do get they get pretty hard. Like, some of those were the ones that they gave me to see if I could be a mentor.
Oh, wow.
When I applied, they said, okay, if you can do these things in one night, then we'll talk to you. So some of them are difficult.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to I'm finishing all the Code Wars katas. I think I have 3 more to get through before I actually start the Image Blur 2 challenge.
Wow.
And I'm probably going to...
Oh, I said, wow. You're going to do great. If you're doing stuff like that, you're just going to breeze through this. Wonderful. I'm so glad I haven't been given a challenging student in a while, and I really enjoy it. It's nice to coast a little bit. Nah, I shouldn't say that, but...
we're transforming pixels next, so...
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
So yeah.
All right. So, do you have anything else for me? I don't.
Not really.
How
I've
much?
been trying to make.
Go ahead.
All
Go
I was
ahead.
going to say is that I'm trying to make notes of questions, but I just don't really have many.
Yeah,
Um,
which that's fine, and it's actually pretty common. I think it attests to the quality of Firehose's curriculum. It's really
oh,
good.
I love it.
It's really good.
It was the fact that I got to basically test it out for 2 weeks, their curriculum out for 2 weeks before making up my mind was great.
Yeah,
So
it's extraordinary, and I've been part of a few different boot camps, and theirs is really special. In their community, the Slack channel, and all that stuff, it's great.
yeah, I almost never can't find help. There were too many negatives in that sentence, but it's I can almost always find help when I need it, if I need. So it's great.
Okay. Well,
Oh.
I guess I'll just if you get stuck or stuff, you encounter stuff that makes you go, why did that happen? Or why didn't this happen? Just write that down, and then we can have a little list to go through for next time.
Alrighty.
Alrighty.
I'm good.
Okay. Good luck. You're going to do great.
Thanks.
You are going to
Bye.
do great. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.